Okay, guys, so we're talking about the Articles of Confederation. These is the first American government, and we're going to run that in to the Constitution, which is our main unit, what we're talking about. So what I want you to start with, though, is you're going to open a blank Google document. I didn't put a Google document on this for you to fill in. You open one. You put Articles of Confederation at the top. Put your notes. Put your name. You're going to submit it. And so the first thing you're going to do is answer these two questions. You're going to say, is it better to have a strict leader or a negligent one who ignores you pretty much? Not like in a good way necessarily either, but ignores you, and it could be to your harm or to your good, or, that they're all in your business all the time. So think about parents, principals, presidents. Is it better if they have a firm ruling hand or they're careless and irresponsible? So on your blank document, answer that. And then let's go to another slide. So pause if you need to, open up a blank document, answer those questions. Let me see if I can get my slides. There we go. So you're also going to then answer this question on your document. What political issues and conflicts did America face at the end of the Revolutionary War? If you just want to copy this question on there and come back and answer it, you still need to answer it. But just in case you want to read through the notes first before you give a big vote on that, do that. But this should be question number 3. So it says, throwing off the British monarchy on July 4th, 1776, the United States had no central government. So no one was in charge. We got rid of Britain, but we're on our own trying to figure out what to do. So they had to design and install a new government and do it quickly. As early as May 1776, Congress advised each of the colonies to draw up plans for state governments. By 1780, all 13 states had adopted written constitutions. So the states have a government, they have a plan, but the main central government does not. In June 1776, the Continental Congress began to work on a plan for a central government. It took 5 years to be approved, first by members of Congress and then by the states. The first attempt at a constitution of the United States was called the Articles of Confederation. So realize it taking 5 years, there are people just doing what they want, states just doing what they want, and then this government's going to come in. The first Constitution, the Articles of Confederation, was composed by a body that directed most attention to fighting and winning the war for independence. It came into being at a time when Americans had a deep-seated fear of a central authority, so they just broke free from a king, so they don't want to give the central or federal government, national government, too much power, because the king had too much power in their opinion. They did have long-standing loyalty to the state they lived. They fought in the militia for that state, not for the country, pretty much. Ultimately, the Articles of Confederation proved unwieldy and inadequate, meaning it wasn't enough to resolve the issues that faced the United States in its earliest years. But in granting any federal powers to a central authority, the Confederation Congress, this document marked a crucial step toward nationhood. The Articles of Confederation were enforced from March 1st, 1781, until March 4th, 1789, when the present Constitution went into effect. Okay, so approved by the last of the 13 American states, Maryland, in 1781, the Articles of Confederation became the ruling document in the new nation. The Articles created a nation that was a league of friendship and perpetual union. So it didn't make the states bond together. They were just friends, pretty much. So they had more power than the national government did. So the state in this government was more powerful than the national government. So think of it today, if all 50 states had more power than the national government to make laws and what problems that could cause. Each state would have their own money. Each state could, make their own tax laws. Each state could decide to go to war or not, or decide to just leave the union because it wasn't working in their best interest. So there's lots of things that this League of Friendship did not do for the country. So like we said, written during the Revolutionary War in 1777, the Articles was the first government for the United States. The Articles gave a national Congress limited power. So we have a one-branch federal government, and it's the Congress. They could control foreign affairs. They could direct war. They could run the postal service. They control the Native American affairs. And they could borrow money from other countries. All other affairs would be controlled by the state. So that is very limited. They can tax, but they can't enforce it. So they could ask the states for money and say, you need to pay your taxes, and the state could be like, no, thank you. The Articles were a disaster. Washington called them a disunited state. They nearly resulted in the end of the new country. They lasted until 1789 when a convention was called to replace them with a new constitution. So here's the chart that pretty much explains what's going on. So the structure, like I said, is a one-branch government, Congress responsible for making laws that are national. Each state had one vote in Congress. There's no executive, so there's no president, and there's no judicial branch or judges. 9 of 13 states had to approve a proposal before it could become a law. All the states had to agree to change this set of laws, the Articles of Confederation. If all 13 states didn't agree to it, then they couldn't change these. The Articles of Confederation could not collect taxes. They could ask the individual states for money. They could print and borrow money. Each state regulated trade with other states. Each state could tax its residents. The Articles of Confederation managed agreements with other countries and Native Americans. They could appoint military officers, but only the states could establish militias. They did establish, we said, the postal system. They have weights and measurements, courts, and consequences for piracy, meaning pirates, literally, not just in fun. All right, so on your paper, fill these things in. So the A didn't need to be filled in. Arguments among states could not be interfered upon by Congress because they couldn't do anything. Raising money was difficult because Congress couldn't tax. Once again, tax could only be requested from the colonies. Congress couldn't tax the citizens. If an army was required, Congress had to ask state militias to send in their military. The court system was missing for the nation, led to favoring and bias in the courts, because obviously if there's a conflict between a guy from Maryland and Virginia and it was in the Maryland court, they would favor the guy from Maryland. Laws needed the approval of 9 of the 13 states. Every amendment had to be approved by all 13 states, and strong leadership was not provided. There was no executive or president. So directions, what you're going to do on the bottom part of your document. So you've already answered 3 questions, or you're going back to the 3rd. And then you have to do this. Okay guys, so as you can see, I had to change format and setting and everything else because, well, that's just what happens when you're a parent. So let me adjust my lighting and fix some things. So what I need you to do is what I have behind you. So you're going to read the primary source excerpt in the same Google Doc you answered the first 2, 3 fill-in questions. You're going to then tell me why the issues listed on the following slides will be a problem. If you're in my CP group, I want you to give me 3-sentence minimum, not on each problem, but why these different scenarios are a problem for the colonists, and why the Articles of Confederation are a problem. Honors, I need 5-sentence minimum on why this is. Like I said, not per slide. So read all 6 problems, and CP, tell me 3 sentences why these are an issue and why the Articles of Confederation are an issue. And honors, you read all 6 problems, and you're going to tell me why, in 5 sentences, these are an issue for the colonies. So think about the problems each quote would create and cause the brand new country of the USA. Remember, they're trying to figure out problems and correct them. They just didn't like how England treated them, and so they're trying to fix all of that now. So problem 1, the individual states did not listen to Congress. So remember, we have a one branch Congress in the federal level, and they aren't being listened to. So when 13 independent disunited states are in the habit of refusing compliance with Congress, this is a problem. So Congress says to do this, and they're like, no, thank you. They probably weren't even that nice, to be honest. They just ignored them. Problem 2, Congress could not raise an army, so foreign nations did not fear or respect the United States. We didn't have a military. You had to call on the state militias if you wanted anything done. So it says, is respectability in the eyes of foreign powers a safeguard against foreign intrusions? And then the second quote, the stupidity of our government prevents them, foreign powers, from even negotiating with us. So they didn't respect us with the military, without a military. in any form or fashion. The federal government could not print money, so their money had no point or value. Each state had their own. So one state currency had no value in the next state, very little on its own. So I realize that's an issue. What happens if you can't pay for something just because you traveled across state lines? We're close enough to South Carolina, that would be an issue for a lot of you. Problem 4, the federal government could not raise taxes from the states, so other countries stopped lending the federal government money knowing they could never be repaid. There is no hope of any further monetary aid from Europe. Congress cannot borrow and states will not pay. So if you can't raise money, you can't pay a military and you can't pay a government. 5. Some states sometimes did not participate fully in Congress. Well, if you need enough of the states to get a vote and they aren't showing up to vote, then you're not going to get anything to change anyway. So it says since October, only 9 states have been on the floor, meaning they showed up. Many of the states care so little about the Union, they take no measure even to keep an active representative in Congress. And then problem 6, some feared a tyrant, meaning a king, would gain power because the federal government could not guarantee safety and security. In seeking for peace and security, they will too naturally turn towards a government that can protect them. If the situation continues, tyranny may raise its head, people may even wish for a king. This will be seen later in the French Revolution, or has been seen in the French Revolution by them, and they are going, that could happen here, and so they're concerned about what could happen with their government that they just fought to get. Afraid people will call back in a foreign country to be over them. So with these 6 problems, like I said, CP, you need to tell me 3 sentences at least as to why these problems are causing the Articles of Confederation a problem and why they need to change it. And honors, you need to tell me in 5 sentences why these are causing problems for them and why they need to change it. So if you'll take care of that, that will be simple for the day and cover the Articles of Confederation. So have a good one.